In this part of our mini-series of implementing a simple iterator chain project, we are going to focus on really implementing a reverse, take, and a skip method. So without much talking, let's just get right into it. Now, by the way, if you haven't watched the first episode, feel free to do so, but we've implemented generally the setup, so a filter, map, for each, and collect method with the help of iterators, and now we will actually try to implement a few other really important methods. Alright, so this is our small project, like I said in the beginning, and we had the from, map, filter, collect, and for each method. And let's just get down here and let's just implement our first method, which is actually the reverse method. Now the method signature is quite easy. It is quite similar to all the other methods we've declared in the first episode. So we're going to implement this signature right here. Again, a generic parameter v, and then we will call it reverse, and in the end it will just going to return a pointer to an iterator with the generic parameter v. And let me quickly explain what this reverse method actually does. And reverse just returns a new iterator with values in reverse order. And now the tricky part here is that really our custom iterator is lazy and it only kind of knows how to go forward because it is built on Go's range-over-func mechanism. Now this range-over-func mechanism is just basically the function that calls yield for each value, and we've actually explained and discovered that in the last video. So right now in the end, for this reverse method, there's actually no way to look backward in a lazy sequence without first materializing it. And therefore, although it is quite tricky, it is quite easy to implement. So what we can do is we can just create a collected variable, or we will basically call the slices.Collect function, and in here we will just pass in the sequence of our iterator, and this will just return a simple slice of type v. So if we're going to say collect right here and see what the type is, it is a slice of type v. Now why v? Because obviously sec is a type iter.Seq v, and in the end this collect is pretty much returning this slice v, in this case for us, right, the generic parameter v. Now generally this slices.Collect just drains the entire lazy sequence into a concrete slice, and it just walks basically the whole chain of filter, map, etc. right now eagerly, which is just a trade-off we pay to be able to reverse the order, right? And with that in mind, we will just then use the reversed function of our slices package or module. So we can say slices.Reverse, and then we will pass in collected right here. Now really we cannot pass in a iter.Seq, so the sequence right here, because in the end reverse just expects a slice as an argument, so we need to pass in a slice, which is the collected thing here. And this slices.Reverse pretty much just flips the slice element in place, so it mutates the collected variable. So right here now the slice is kind of in a reversed order. And then last but not least, we are going to return our now reversed slice into a new kind of lazy iter.Seq, so that basically in the end the rest of the chain still works the same way as before with any sort of other iterator we can use on this, right? So we will just return basically the iterator right here, pass in the generic parameter v, and then we're going to define as a sequence slices.values and then collect it. Now slices.values just returns basically a sequence or a iterator sequence of Go based on a slice, and this slice in this case is the collected, right? So it just basically kind of yields the slice elements in order so that in the end we can use it as an iterator sequence. Cool, now this was our first method. Let's just get straight to the next method, which will be the take method. So let's just quickly declare the method signature iterator v and then take, and we are going to pass in as an parameter right here an integer n, and then of course it is going to return a pointer to an iterator v. Now generally this take method just returns an iterator with at most n elements. And the reason we implement this is just because we sometimes only want a limited preview of a sequence, which just stops requesting further values almost instantly, so long the chain does not get really fully processed. And right here we are going to use the yield and all this fancy iterator sequence stuff again. So we're going to return a new iterator with the generic parameter v, and then sequence, and then func. Now this is all given. Then we are going to define the count right here, because we need to obviously count the elements we need to yield into the next iterator kind of. And we wrap our yield based function around the underlying sequence right here. And remember, besides the take method, the key idea is really that the iterator just pushes values to the consumer rather than the consumer pulling them. So literally just every time we call this yield right here, the control just jumps into whatever loop body is consuming our chain. That's what the for v and then range iter.Seq on the outside compiles down to. And yield just then hands back a boolean, and true really means in this case keep going and give me the next value, and obviously false means just stop and don't call me again, right? We've actually explored this in the last video in more detail. This was just a reminder of how this kind of yield thing actually works. So then we are going to, like I said earlier, iter.Seq iterate over this. So we're going to walk the source sequence one value at a time, right? And one value at a time basically just means we're going to do this in a lazy way. And then we're going to check if the count is greater or equal to n, we're just going to return right here. So once we've already emitted n values, we are going to stop entirely. And this is really what makes the take short circuit instead of really scanning the whole source. And then clearly we need to yield the value. We're going to check here for the boolean. So if not yield v, we are just going to return, and then we are going to increase the count right here. So with this yield functionality, we're just going to pass the value downstream. And if the consumer really signals this function a stop by returning false, for instance, we just respect that and just return right here and stop everything, or at least stop this sequence or iterator. All right, and this was our take method. So let's just get into the skip method. Again, we are just going to define our method signature right here, and then we have skip. It is quite similar to the take method, right? And all this skip method literally does is just skips the first n elements. And this is, like I said earlier, just the mirror image of take, and it is useful for like pagination-style logic. So for example, give me everything after the first two items. And it's really quite similar. So let's just create the iterator right here, and then we're going to define Seq function. Quite easy, nothing really new so far. We're going to actually declare the count, and then we're going to loop over our sequence, so iter.Seq. And then if count is less than n, we are just going to kind of continue and then count ++, right? So while we haven't skipped enough yet, we are just going to increment the counter and continue, which really means that we don't yield this value, we just move to the next one from the source right here. And once we are kind of past the skip threshold, we are going to continue with our logic, and we are going to check for the yield. So yield v, and then break. Now this is just the same early exit behavior as before, and this was our skip method. So let's just explore all of these new methods inside of our main function. Now let's just modify this result functionality or this chain right here, and what we're going to say is we are just going to take 2, for instance, right? Now in the end, this will output just 20 and 40. And then we need also a reversed example. So we can, for instance, say from, and then we are going to declare something new here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we are, going to say reverse, and then we're going to say collect. Right, so we are going to test the reverse behavior right here. And then we are just going to print line reversed. So in the end, it should just print this array right here in reverse order, or this slice in reverse order. And then for the more complex chaining functionality, we're going to map, right? And then maybe we can skip here 2 as well. And then we are just going to take 3. Now this kind of looks complex, but what's really happening is that we just drop the first 2 elements in our sequence. And then this take just kind of keeps only the first 3 of those. So in the end, it should be 12, 14, and 16, hopefully. So let's just test this by just hitting go run main.go. And what we will see is 20 and 40, which is the expected outcome. Then the reversed slice, which is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we've got 12, 14 and 16. The outcome we've actually expected. And that was it with the second part of this small mini series right here, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Now in the next episode we are going to probably refactor this, add unit tests or something like this, because right now we are only testing in the main function. Now, and if you are curious about the first part, feel free to check out this video right here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and bye bye.